All right.
Cool.
Good.
Hi, everybody. Oh, awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Black Lives Matter discussion group. Today, we're going to be focusing on the topic of activism and how to heal it. So, this is a topic that I've I was very invested in activism a few years back, like when Donald Trump was elected, and I've noticed there's a lot of issues with activism, and I've been seeing the ways that we can heal it with the power of this work, and I really feel passionate about sharing this with the world and doing the healing with this. So other people don't have to go through what I was going through. Because, when I was an activist, I didn't feel a lot of love or hope in the movement. I felt like I focused a lot on the problems of the issues that we were facing instead of actually seeking solutions and feeling like we could have a solution. And that was all healed when I found this work, because we found the solution, and the solution is God. It's unionism and love and healing ourselves from within instead of trying to fight for something outside to happen. And we've seen real results happen by loving ourselves in the discussions that we're having in this group. A little story I'd like to share, is just recently I was talking with a relative about Black Lives Matter, and she commented on one of my posts that I wrote about Black Lives Matter, or just reposted something, and she got triggered. She got very triggered that I said Black Lives Matter, because there's a lot of misinformation going out about the Black Lives Matter movement is they're good, but there's bad people in it, and we should support it. I don't know, I don't know too much about it, but that's what she was talking about. And I asked her why she believed these things, and I was pointing out the truth and the illusions of I was pointing out the illusions of what she was saying to me. And a while ago, before this work, I probably wouldn't be able to have this conversation with her, because I'd be too triggered and too upset that she had these views. But with this work, I was able to open up and share my story and be confident in the truth and share the truth in a loving and open way. And I actually saw her opening up to these ideas and seeing change in her. And because the problem with activism I've seen is there's this feeling of hurt, and there's a lot of feelings of attack, this side is attacking this side, or vice versa. And that's not how we'll heal anything. And so I approached the conversation not out of a place of hurt or attack. I approached it through love, and she's not all the way there yet, but she's like, okay, I see your perspective. I haven't heard this perspective yet, and I appreciate hearing this. And that's how change is made. That's having these conversations and coming from a place of love instead of attack, instead of just assuming the other side wants to hurt you or put you down. And it felt really good to do that. It felt like, wow, I made actual change. Even though it was just one person, that's a big thing. Changing one person's perspective just by sharing love, that's a pretty huge thing, and it just has ripple effects. So that's what I have to say about that, and I'd love to hear how other people have experienced how how activism has changed, or how they've experienced it, or how this work has changed their experiences with others. Yeah.
Well, I do want to share that a card did come out. It's so relevant. Surrender the fear to change. And there is a girl sitting on a horse. And so I just love that, like, you didn't like back down to like being fearful of just like speaking your truth and what you saw, and how you were feeling. And because of that, because you spoke your truth and you really stood in love, you're already cultivating change just in that space right there. So great job.
Thanks. Yeah, so true.
Yeah, I think instead of like going on, go ahead, you were going to say something?
It was just a comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of like going on necessarily to someone else's story, I just kind of want to ground that experience that you had a little bit, which is like, one, super courageous for you to just post something on like your social media, referencing Black Lives Matter for all the ways that people might think about it. And so one, that was like just a courageous act of love. And so imagine if other people did that, right? And then two, I'm always thankful for the people who do comment and say things that rub us the wrong way, because unless they do, we don't know what to heal, right? So it's kind of like, if we don't have an upset, we don't know that we need to heal it, and that is something that's being done. So I like those people. But I think the question is, what do we do when those people approach us or come rear their head? And what that is. And what you said was just a great example of loving them in conversation and guiding that, and that it's not something defensive or like this Facebook war or anything like that. And so that's just another layer of what this work entails. And so for like everyone listening and everyone like tuning into these sessions, it's not just about getting the information and like healing by yourself. Is kind of, I like to say, you need to get your cousins. And so your cousins are people who, are in your same demographic. And so what does it look like to have the conversation with them? A lot of things when like the Black Lives Matter movement, or particularly when George Floyd's killing happened, a good bit of people were like, oh my gosh, I want to do something. What can I do? I want to be active. I want to get engaged. What can I do? And my response to them was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. Like, thank you so much for reaching out and saying that. I was like, here's the thing. There's at least 5 other people that you know who's not saying that same thing. Like, who's not saying, oh my gosh, let me do something. This is affecting me in a way that I feel moved, I feel convicted. I want to see change. Like, there's at least 5 other people that you know that's not saying that. You should go talk to them about why you feel this way, why you feel moved, and have a conversation with them. And that's just to say that we've got to get other people on board and be bold in our ability to do that. And so just want to really ground that story for you, and how it can really affect change and really bring healing for sure. So
Totally. Yeah, I agree. Like, you definitely need to have those uncomfortable conversations, and that's why this work is really important too, because like I was triggered for sure, but I was able to move through that and actually like continue forward in the conversation, and instead of letting the hurt just like block me from even wanting to talk. So yeah, like it's really cool that we can move forward and not be held back by hurt or upsets.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story, and it's making me realize that yeah, we're all just humans with blocks to work through. And I say that because I was in a school where there was a lot of political activism. And so I had a lot of friends that would go and demonstrate. regularly. But when I had, racist experiences, not a lot of people were able like to speak up and just say to the other person like discriminating that, hey, this was not okay. And that's something I realized too, like a lot in France, at least, like in the media and over in the white communities. It's just like this silence, kind of tense silence around people that are racist or, speak about racism, but, without taking into account like the Black communities. And I always thought that it was kind of like hypocritical of them, like, to have this political views of like, we stand by you and being activist and going to demonstrate for the rights, but not being able to just say, hey, this is not okay, to just speak up in front of someone else that had other views about and other opinions about the matter. And I just realized that at the core, they just have blocks and obviously a lot of powerlessness coming up, about speaking up, because like most of the time, the people that are racist that I encountered were in high position of power, and when you have like when you're a young activist like in front of these people, you obviously have thoughts of, okay, what do I do? How can I do that? How can I still be loving and raise awareness around me? And yeah, it really made me think of that, your story. And I noticed that now I have more compassion for people because I know it's really hard to speak up. And that's why, the act of speaking up like you did is even more courageous to me.
Thanks. Yeah, like I actually don't feel like it was that hard though. Like it's
Right.
not hard for people to like without this work, it's difficult for people, but it doesn't need to be hard to speak up for what's right, and like stand in your truth and know that like that's what they're really scared of. They're scared of like persecution and scared of like being attacked. And that's just what we're healing. We're healing that illusion of we're not going to be attacked for just speaking up and being ourselves and standing for what's right. So yeah, like
Yeah, I guess it's just about like realizing that it's not hard, it's just an illusion, and that we can stand united and not to be like all utopic and or anything, but like we can stand united and we can have like discussion, we can be seated and have this conversation and be safe.
yeah.
Yeah, in a space where everyone can express themselves.
Yeah. And that's why I love this discussion group so much, because like I feel really safe with you guys, because like I know we have like the mirror exercise and we can work through those feelings of attack. Like I've been part of other discussions where there was a lot of attacking involved. There was like lots of blame and projection thrown onto each other, and shame taken on, because I thought I had to shame myself for being white, and I had to feel guilty for my ancestors. But that's not a productive conversation, and that feeling of being attacked really just held back the change from even happening, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that there was like a lot of there was a lot of healing to do around activism, And that just reminds me of how, like, debates in activist groups can be quite violent sometimes, and maybe even intolerant and harsh, just because it is political and people have different political views. And so, yeah, I wondered, like, do you have any feeling coming up? Do you feel like there is healing to do around that for you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's still like that feeling of there's still like fear, I think. Yeah, like the feeling is like I don't want to like be the bad guy, you know? I want to help. Yeah.
Yeah, do you trust yourself?
Yeah.
You're inherently good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone is.
Exactly.
That's where we get tripped up sometimes in politics and activism. Yeah. Yeah, we're all children of God.
Yeah, it's safe to surrender the negative thinking, like thinking you're gonna like do something wrong or say something wrong by speaking up.
Yeah. Yeah, amen. Yeah, because like there's this kind of self-control that like I feel sometimes like when I'm like in like an environment where we're having like an uncomfortable conversation. I don't want to say like a racist thing, or I don't want to like be disrespectful, but that's
Is that your intention?
no, it's
No.
not. So yeah, I can just be like, okay, trust myself. Like it's okay if something like that happens, it doesn't make me a bad person.
It's safe to receive discipline too. Like
Yeah.
it's just much easier for you to just be yourself. And then if you need to be disciplined to refine and master your relationship with your brothers and sisters, then allow that to happen naturally. You don't have to try and like control to like you just have to be who you are, and then through discipline you'll learn and grow into, even deeper of who you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because sometimes things need to be said to open up another conversation, to open up the conversation at a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's just all love. There's all love here.
Yeah, it's safe to be you and to express God through you, how God wants to heal.
Yeah, I think it was really important what you said earlier about like the foundation of this work. That's the only reason we can all be here together having a dialogue like this, because you're right, otherwise there's no there's no foundation, there's like no safety net. Everyone's just like, they have their opinions and they're sticking with them. But with the foundation of like Jeff and Shalea's work, like I was just thinking about this the other day, like how this community is like nothing else. Like it's truly divine because each of us are watching the classes and purifying our consciousness. And so we're automatically coming more and more into alignment with God, and we can safely cultivate spaces where things that seem like such big world problems can actually have a pretty simple solution.
Amen. Feels so good.
Molly, does that healing process that Yareen initiated with you feel complete for you? Because I feel like there's a piece that's kind of simmering underneath the surface.
Yeah, I feel a little bit of something there still.
Can I ask you a question? If you were to feel into it, is it a little bit of a fear of persecution?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
So what do
Yeah,
you need right now to feel loved in that space?
to feel like I belong.
And where does your belonging come from?
God. Yeah.
Do you have to do anything to deserve your belongingness?
Nope.
Can you then accept the divine truth and make a new choice that you belong perfectly?
Yeah. Yes.
How does that feel?
Feels really good.
Does it feel complete?
Yeah.
You want to welcome that part of your home and just love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done.
Yeah. You got receiving support and love. Look at that.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up.
Thank you, guys.
You.
Yeah. I know like this healing is like helping not just me, it's like everyone out there. Because I see a lot of hurt in like activism and activists like me who are just like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, who's their source?
It's God. Yeah.
Yeah. So they really do have the answers, but God's going to work through you to help them see that, help them understand that their source and their answer is within them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting there. I feel it. Yeah.
I wanted to maybe share my experience too a little bit.
Sorry, no, you're carrying on.
That's okay.
No, you carry
Yeah, so I remember because so I grew up in a very like basically all white town, and only having like a couple, like maybe like 3 Black families within the community, so I really didn't have any experience with it, and I didn't like see it as anything. And when I went to college, I tried joining the Black Student Union, and they were like, you can't join, like you're white, like why are you here? And I remember like being like really confused, and like even I had went to a sorority event. I was, recognizing myself as a female at the time, and the event was for all like Black and Latina sororities, and they had like asked me, like they looked at me weird and they asked me, they were like, are you any part Black or Latin? If not, like why are you here? Just join the regular sororities. And like I just remember this feeling of like being like, wait, isn't it all the same? Like I was really confused why it was separated. And like I just like loved like my friends that were Black and like were in those sororities or in the Black Student Union, and I just wanted to spend more time with them and like partake in it. And like there was almost like this innocence of like not recognizing that there was a separation there, almost an ignorance that I had experienced. Yeah, and like Marley, when you were healing that, like the feeling of like being left out or not included, or like you didn't know where you fit in, because it was like, it's kind of like that meme that Drake shared where you don't know what table you sit at, right? It's like it's like hard when people are playing the separation game and all you desire is to play the unionism game. And so I'm just so grateful like that we have this community, guys, because like I can sit at the same table as all my brothers and sisters, and I don't have to like, sit at a table because of like what I look like or who I am.
I love that. Like, as you bring that up too, I think something that has keep coming up to the forefront to me is that like somehow we have like established that racism is only between white and black people or people of different color, but not also seeing that racism happens within the same race. Like growing up, I'm a light-skinned black person, but I wasn't always accepted fully by the people in my family who were much, much darker than I was, because I had the prettier light skin and I had the prettier black features or whatever it was. And so not always being accepted into my black side of the family, and then not always being accepted into my Hispanic side of the family, because there's like that mix there. And it was just like, shouldn't I just be accepted by everyone?
Right.
And not quite getting it, not quite understanding like feeling that there was something wrong with me because of the way that I was created, and realizing that that's the illusion, that there was nothing wrong with me. But having to really understand that it wasn't just happening between white people and black people, that it really does happen within all races.
It does. Yeah, I think even like, white people do it too. White people too. Like, right? Like there's like stereotypes and racisms like all over the place, right? But like this is the root of the conversation. This is the root of that racism that we're healing, and how beautiful that the healing gets to extend to all the aspects of our lives that have experienced separation. No matter what that looks like or what that is, because there are multiple racist and like stereotypical kind of things that people say. Bigotry is a thing still.
Yeah, I obviously relate to everything Kenesha said, because the black and the white, like the black people were like, are you sure she's mixed? And
right.
It's like, yeah, but and then like the white people of my family had to completely like dismantle their racism, because they were in the KKK, my grandfather was, and then like now he's related to this black person, so he had to leave it and whatnot. But like I think the point that we're all coming to with all of this is like the racism we are holding within, like against ourselves. Because I know like I struggle with that. I have like some memories that I've been working through of just being like, oh my God, I wish I was just white. Like this is so hard. Like, and yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel in that space?
Just sad.
Yeah. Is there anything that she's sharing with you in that space that you'd like to share?
I just choose to accept myself for being myself. Black, white, all of it.
Yeah, good. Is there anything else that she needs to feel loved?
Just like a big hug.
Yeah, and how's she feel now?
A lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Does anyone else relate to this feeling?
Yeah, I know that like, I think because like I was programmed to think like for me it was like black people are like always in trouble or always in trouble with the law or something like that. And for the longest time I couldn't figure out why I always felt like I was in trouble. Like I was like, I haven't done anything wrong, and yet I feel like I'm about to be punished for something.
Same.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I had realized that I was really neglecting the African American part of myself. Like you had said, that like for the longest time I grew up wishing that I was white and I had blonde hair and I could do all these things that like white girls could do, and not really accepting myself there. And for it felt like I was missing a part of myself, and it just, I wasn't fully accepting all of who I was in the way that God had created me. Yeah,
So how do you feel
as I
about
chose
it?
to really
Do you feel that's
was
part of
choosing to be a
yourself?
stereotype that like
That like is, I guess, not accepting yourself? Is that what it feels like?
Just lack in general.
Rejection.
yeah,
What do you need to
it's
feel
almost like a
loved
feeling
here?
like I have to like, yeah, there's almost like this need, like I have to like show up for the Black community, and that feels kind of heavy for me, but like it almost
Yeah, you
feels
just
like
need to show
it's
up for
part of like a
yourself.
responsibility.
Yeah, you just choose to show up for
I do
yourself.
choose to show.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
How does that feel?
Relieving.
Yeah. Yeah, and that lack that you were feeling, are you enough as you are? As the Black woman you are, as the mixed woman you are, as Kanisha?
Yeah, I am enough.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that feel?
This was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's this like idea within consciousness that like some people are better than other people, and it's like whatever you're not is better than you. Men think that women are better than men because it suits them. Women think that men are better than women because it suits them. Same thing. Black people believe maybe that white people are better, or white people believe that Black people are better. It's just this idea that like we are not all one. We're not all divine children of God. That we're not all worthy and all have enough. That there's not enough to share with everybody. But there is. There is, and no one's better than another person. And that's sometimes hard for people to understand because they think, well, I have to be better than someone else, or how else will I survive? How else will I thrive? Right? Because there's this idea of like, you know, some are great and the rest are, you know, normal. But
you know,
yeah, we can all be great.
Like this feeling like that's how they survive, like how they're gonna survive is by having to like be better, be on top. I don't know, like the survival of the fittest just like came out to me. Like,
yeah, like I need to be better. I need this to be better, which actually doesn't help you survive at all. It actually takes away from your own survival. Like it's because essentially what you're choosing is you're saying, I don't have enough. I am lack, and therefore you become lack. You don't actually become what you desire, the divine being with the success and the abundance and everything that you need and want, because you continually are saying like, oh, I'm not enough. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I need to be better. So through like this constant drive of wanting to be better than someone else.
Just be yourself.
Yeah, like you could just be yourself.
That's it. I just wanted to read this comment. And yeah, I don't know what this is going to bring up, but I discovered English versus Irish Scottish racism within my whiteness. It made me laugh because I'm like, I am all of those white colors, so
yeah, isn't that funny that like, you know, yeah, there's this racism, and there's this verses that we use so many times within our lives this versus that, and like how great that unionism is making it this and this, not this versus this, you know? Good
Yeah, 'cause
point.
if you think about it, like, how did these mixtures come? They loved each other and they decided to have babies. Like, there was some type of love at the bottom of that. I'm just saying.
So true. I love that. That's cool.
That was perfect. Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. Oh my gosh. Sorry. No, but my great grandparents and my grandparents are all from different ethnicities. Like white, black, Native American, and Indian, South Indian. And yeah, I've always really been proud of my multicultural upbringing, but at the same time, like I realized like even in the Caribbean, which is really mixed, like there is a need to classify people, from the from the lightness of their skin color, from their ethnicities, or from, and always a need, like almost toxic need to know what people are like. I always got that question, like, what are you, and I always identified as being like French Caribbean, and not as my color. And I realized that I was already like on the path of unionism and on the desire to be a unionist, because I didn't see these things as separate. But like my peers always like wanted to see me as other, because I didn't like look like any other people as a child. And it was really weird for me, like, I wouldn't understand. It was, as Ray said, like that kind of innocence, like being naive to the separation that people like put in the society. And yeah, I'm really happy like to say that this is bullshit and we need to ditch these classifications and get them like behind, like obviously like it's not as easy to do as it sounds, and it's not like to the extent of saying that there is no color. Like this is obviously a lie, especially today, because like we have so much to heal still. But just like not putting people in a box. Like I just want to feel like I'm a proud Black woman, but with a multicultural background, and it's okay to look like I look, and there's no questioning my upbringing just to like put me in a classification, put me in a box.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm also quite mixed of descent. So in South Africa, we have this concept of the rainbow nation. And it's kind of white people, black people, Indian people, colored people. And my heritage is kind of half Indian, half African, half colored. And then I've got on my father's side a very German surname, and I've got on my mother's side a very Scottish surname. And eventually I just started telling people I'm my own rainbow nation because like, that classification of actually just like being put into a box and kind of not really feeling like you are part of anything. It just started to feel like such a waste of energy and a waste of time. And I was just like, okay, well, what is the opposite of that? The opposite of it is that I'm all of those things, which felt
You're the union race.
Yeah, it felt a lot healthier because I'm all of those things. I'm not one of those things. That felt a lot more settling as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to realize that most of our countries are built on immigration. And so even though you look white or even though you look black, you're not like one, generation upon generation of only one ethnic group. It's always a mix, like with like the, you know, like there's like this famous like DNA tests, you know, and everyone says like, oh, I discovered that I had French ancestry and Irish ancestry, and I had Jewish people in my family, you know, or, you know, I had Native American in my family, but it's not like, you know, it's not, it's really different from most people conception of like nationalism and like pertaining to a nation. If you look at your DNA, it doesn't mean anything, because like you're just like, it's just a trace of the generation that have come before you and where they did go, where they traveled. And yeah, that's the thing with humanity, we always move. Like, what was the chance that Indian people could be in South Africa, in the Caribbean, in like Latin America, that German people could be in Brazil, like that African could be in America. And, you know, it's just like people moving, and it doesn't need to be a classification.
Yeah, like I know what's coming up for me because it was touched on even just in a conversation of like when we talk about like the Bible, and that they don't talk about race, they talk about families, like how we came from, how families um, went to different places of where they were, and so they all came from a family, and so they all just decided to sprout differently, and so it's like we all come from the same core, the same place. It's just because we didn't stay in the same, we didn't stay in Africa, we all decided to like branch out and go to different places. That is where the different colors of our skin starts to change, is we all come from one family, and that's where people have a hard time like really coming to that idea, is that we're all from the same. But just because of I mean, I don't know about y'all, but when Kanisha gets in the sun for like a day, I turn like 5 shades darker. So like the environment changes things for you. At least for me it does. And so I just believe that we all come, of course, from God, but we all came from the same family, and that's hard for people to wrap their mind around, because as you go back in lineage that way, it's like we're all coming from the same exact people.
Can you hear me?
That makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
No, that's really good. Y'all like dropping some real good stuff here today. So I just want to put some like terminology to what we're talking about, so that we can like, I don't know, be able to identify what we're healing and what we're like seeing, and really be like great at, you know, talking to Facebook people. And so what you were just saying, Kanisha, like race and ethnicity, like if you look in the Bible, like where in the very beginning or just in general, you won't see race. And it's because race is a social construct that was literally invented to divide us, right? Like literally invented to separate us and create oppressive environments for some of us and not for others. And so when we think about race, like we really don't want we don't want to give it honor and glory, because like it's not real. And it's really not a thing. You can't look at somebody's DNA and find their race, right? But you can find ethnicity, right? Like you can find where people come from, or, you know, those sorts of things. And then the darker we get, the more melanin in our skin, and, you know, all those things. I went to the beach last week or the week before that, and my melanin is popping, right? Like, so like it just kind of depends on where we're at, what we're doing. But at the same time, we can't just like let go of race, because race at this juncture helps us to like define and look at the inequities that have been the impact and the ramification of the division that was the social construct that was created. And so for us to say like race is not real, let's throw it away, would not be helpful. to what we ultimately want to achieve, which is equity, and that all people realize that we are one, and you know, those sorts of things. So it's a beautiful balance that we get to play, but it's also rewarding and refreshing to know that I don't have to be defined by what this social construct is. I can be defined by what God has said I am, but then still understand how that impacts like my brother and my sister and myself in this world that we are in, but we are not of, if you will. And then just kind of what Kanisha was talking about with within your family dynamic. I wouldn't call it racism within your family, but I would call it classism, or colorism rather, not classism, but that's a whole nother ism. But I would call it colorism. We got a lot of isms, y'all, but to heal. But it's colorism, right? But the root of it is racism, right? The root, I always say that the root of all the isms is racism, right? Because that was like the first thing that we were looking at, who's superior and who's inferior. And so I wouldn't call it within your own race racism, because no one is like inferior or superior in that dynamic, where you're just embodying the dominant culture of whiteness. And so it's like sinking into the consciousness to be kind of oppressive and prejudiced against like someone who aligns with you in whatever way, whether it's half or whatever percentage point. And so us just recognizing that it's in all of us, right? Like it's not just black and white for sure. It's something that we all get to heal, we all get to embrace, and we all get to do it together if we choose to. And so I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to just see how that can all play out and how we can all heal ultimately. But just really believing, I love that what Ray said, which was, or was that Stasia, that we like have to heal the racism like within ourselves, and like what that looks like internally, so that it doesn't show up externally in the form of all the other isms. And I thought of something else, but I'll stop talking. But yeah.
No, keep talking. If you thought of something, girl, you say it.
Well, when Marley was just talking about how she saw like the activism within her, you know, she was in different groups and like she saw them go wrong. Like what propelled me to, like God was already tugging on me to like be about this work of like healing and racism and what does it mean to really dismantle it. And I was at a panel. This was a Black event, if you will, right? Like it was the BSU, I don't know, the Black Student Union. But no, this was, it's called the National Urban League. The National Urban League is like a Black African-American civic advocacy organization. And so there's different chapters in each state. And so I was part of the board for the young professionals. And they were having an event that I attended, which was a panel talking about race and all those dynamics. And so everyone in the room, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong, was Black. And so it was this dialogue of having a conversation. And within all the people who were attending, based on like the questions and how people were responding, it got very combative, like very quickly. It went like 0 to 100 real quick. And it was so hurtful. I ended up going into the bathroom and crying my eyes out because I could not handle like just the way this was happening. I was like, this is just not the way this conversation should be going. This is not healthy for anyone. Like, this is just not helpful. And it was like that moment where I realized, like, whatever you have in me, God, like, I need you to bring it out, because this is not gonna work. Like, this is not how I want to see this happen. And so it was like that moment that I like said yes to God. I don't know, but it was a real turning point, because I didn't want to see that happen ever again. Like, I didn't want to see a conversation about race or justice or anything like that happen in a way that it was destructive and not, what's the opposite of destructive? I don't know, healing. You know, What'd you say?
Constructive, the opposite.
There you go, and not constructive. And so what I guess my point is, those moments can really help us to be like, okay, I know what not, you know, I know what doesn't work, and I'm going to be a part of what does work. And that was something I like thought of when you were talking about your story, Marley.
Stepping into your full power there.
Stop
And you just
it.
speaking up and sharing that is you stepping up into your full power. So don't hesitate to step right into that. Jump right in. God's got you.
I received that. That's so good.
You got some love coming from Christy and Lisi as well, quoting you. They're just amazed by what you shared with us, and thank you, Kalita, for giving that to us. That was amazing.
Yes, too.
Okay, cool. So how are you guys feeling right now? We've got a few minutes to go. So I'm just wondering if you feel like we're complete for today, or if there's anything else to add.
I had like one question on my heart when we were talking about like categorizing and putting everyone in boxes. I was like wondering what you guys think is like the core upset of that. Like, why are we putting ourselves in boxes? And yeah,
I was thinking about that too, because as you guys were talking, I knew that something that really was like very touchy for me was being like I guess you can call it like a high educated Black woman. And just by the way I would speak, I would have people be like, are you sure you're Black? Because you sound, I hate this word, you sound whitewash, you sound white. And it just didn't make sense. I'm like, still to this day, I still get it. And it doesn't always make sense. So it's like, why do we have to classify whether or not we speak in a particular way or we're educated in a way that it makes us different than who we are?
I think there's a belief that like that somehow you like have to like really, in order to know yourself, you have to like draw a profile of who you are and not just like be who you are, if that makes sense. And so I think through this misinterpretation of us trying to find ourselves, we ended up kind of creating construct like these templates of who we think we are, but all of it was made through like outside, dialogue of like what we are. But I think, what we're learning, and I think what we're healing is recognizing like we are who we are on the inside, and seeing that, like seeing Marley and like seeing Marley, not seeing all the things that might look like on the outside that make Marley, but seeing Marley, right? Like that's something that we're all learning, and I think it comes with some mastery and some healing and of like knowing yourself truly on the inside, that I think we're all coming to understand. I think that's the block, is like getting to know who you are on the inside, and that's what we heal through coming into harmonious union, is like getting to know ourselves, getting to know God, right? Like really having a relationship with ourselves. And I think that's the core upset, is that like no one really knows themselves. And so they just use these terms trying to find them, to like hold on and be codependent of something that they think might be them, so that they feel like they know who they are, instead of just surrendering to who they are.
Yeah, it also just, it's like the choice of separation. And I think that's why like the Black Lives Matter movement blew up so much the same year as we're experiencing the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
Because they're both choices of separation. I mean, because you have to like, we have to stand 6 feet apart and, and all that shit.
So I think just Molly, on the point of your question, I think it was kind of fueled by a search for an identity that appeared to be missing. And so people started relating inside of their differences as opposed to inside of their samenesses.
Yeah.
You better just drop the mic, Granville.
I completely,
Yeah, and
I completely
that's what
resonate with
it is.
that
And I
because,
think
like,
that's the nice thing about unionism is the teaching that the power is no longer in power. The power is in relationship. The power is in relating to each other and not ignoring the differences, because if you ignore the differences, you can't see the patterns where there are problems. You kind of have to see the differences to realize where there are problems and then to relate on a different level.
Mm-hmm. So that's like a whole nother conversation on identity, which a nonprofit's planning an event around it. But that's like a good topic for sure that we just like touch the surface of.
Yeah, maybe we could go deeper next week on this. So juicy. Wow.
Yep. Feels good to me. Yeah. So do you guys wanna just like feel into that space? I feel like we're complete. And also, well, we've got like 2 minutes to go. So I mean, like, apart from
I think
I don't think there's much more.
Did you want to say something?
Oh no, I just wanted to relate on some of the things that Kanisha said, because into my own little background, I'm the only boy in my family that actually graduated from post-grad school. And another thing was, thank you. And another thing was, when I was in high school, I became a little bit of a metalhead. So I was called by a lot of my Black peers Oreos, because when I was in high school, I was introduced to, like Paramore and Evanescence and Lana Del Rey, and that would be the kind of thing that I would blast at home. I wasn't blasting rap music mostly. And I mean, I was blasting R&B as well, but it was mostly like rock music, and that was what my neighbors heard from me. And I would be called Oreo, and I didn't know why. And I started calling myself an Oreo. I understand why, so that's why I thought it was like a bit of like society telling us that we have to, label ourselves to fit in a specific category or something. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But we can talk more on it next week.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I think it was a very healthy conversation, very good conversation with some deep and meaningful insights and some very deep healing as well, just in the conversation, apart from any other healing processes. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for everybody that joined us on our live stream and the comments. Thank you for the love. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Just click stop recording.
Why? What are you trying to hide?
No, it's just they always forget to cut it.
Trying to hide. Hey, I see y'all. How you doing?